The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible.
Recovery spending, regional integration, and energy cost pressures build in the U.S. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Tuesday, February 3, 2026. I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, Jamaica rolls out $10 billion under the ROOFs program, turning post-disaster recovery into a direct economic injection. Also ahead, French Senate backs Martinique's bid to join CARICOM as associate member, potentially opening new business pathways. And later, U.S. power grid comes under pressure as reports warn electricity costs are rising faster than inflation. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMax possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMax Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never ever ever wanna calm down. Oh, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-923-5111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
We're here to open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Save to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
We get the big contract. 50,000 units a month for 3 years. Great. Won't need help.
If you are a business owner that requires capital for the expansion of your business, talk to a registered broker today to find out more about listing your company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, an efficient alternative to other financing options.
Thank God for the Jamaica Stock Exchange junior market.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Your garden coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I picked it up for you. But tell me something. Why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a disaster response rollout with economic implications. With 10 billion Jamaican dollars now being disbursed, the Roofs program is turning post-hurricane recovery into an active economic injection. The funding targets roof repairs and home stabilization for families affected by Hurricane Melissa, while pushing spending through construction and retail supply chains. Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says grants are already being issued, delivered through direct deposits and controlled digital payment systems.
We have put together the Shelter Recovery Program under the instructions of our Prime Minister, and it's not just a one-off, one-element program. It's a comprehensive solution with 6 different interventions, and the one that we're focused on today is a flagship intervention with an initial $10 billion allocation. We have successfully, with a lot of work, started the distribution of grants under the Roofs program, with the first utilizing our sophisticated, modern, digital modality to provide QR codes and
Jamaica Stock Exchange's Regional Investments and Capital Markets Conference. I'm Rachelle Moncrief. This morning's focus is on government priorities to deepen capital market development. I'm already registered. Let's head inside.
This is my 7th year attending the GSE conference. I'm really looking forward to hearing from Minister Williams
and hearing how the government plans to deepen capital market development.
And it's always good to just be here with international investors, hearing their perspective on Jamaica, hearing their perspective on the region and emerging markets broadly, and see what we can do to really drive development, economic development and financial deepening forward.
"21 years in the life of anything is meaningful. I am sure that you will agree with me that this conference is a symbol of resilience. Only a fraction of events or businesses survive for over 2 decades.
Day 2 has been very insightful. I'm learning a lot here. You know, as a final year student, I find that these spaces are the best spaces to learn as much as you can, especially on capital markets and the initiatives that they have been putting in place.
Hi, my name is Javanna Horton, and I'm the founder of Counterflow Inc., a legal tech company, and I'm pitching today in this pitch room.
It is a brunch themed, full service, casual dining restaurant.
Is this preliminary? So you have the land, you've identified the land, and you want to put a structure on.
To make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a disaster response rollout with economic implications. With 10 billion Jamaican dollars now being disbursed, the ROOFs program is turning post-hurricane recovery into an active economic injection. The funding targets roof repairs and home stabilization for families affected by Hurricane Melissa, while pushing spending through construction and retail supply chains. Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says grants are already being issued, delivered through direct deposits and controlled digital payment systems.
We have put together the Shelter Recovery Program under the instructions of our Prime Minister, and it's not just a one-off, one-element program. It's a comprehensive solution with 6 different interventions. And the one that we're focused on today is a flagship intervention with an initial $10 billion allocation. We have successfully, with a lot of work, started the distribution of grants under the ROOFs program. With the first utilizing our sophisticated, modern, digital modality to provide QR codes and text messages to the phones of at least 50 persons of the most severe damage.
That was Labor Minister Pernell Charles Jr. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the disaster recovery funds will be closely monitored as they are disbursed.
I will be asking MOCA to do a sampling for fraud in the recovery grants. In other words, we have to check that if you got a grant, that you actually use it for the purpose you got the grant for. and that you're not defrauding the government.
That was Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. NCB Financial Group Limited, NCBFG, is pressing ahead with a strategic internal reorganization, moving to consolidate its Cayman Islands banking and wealth operations under the Clarion Bank Limited brand. The financial group says Clarion, a majority-owned subsidiary, will acquire NCB Cayman Limited, subject to regulatory approvals, as part of a wider effort to streamline operations and align closely related businesses within a single platform. NCB Financial Group notes that the transaction will not have a material impact on its capital adequacy, liquidity, or ownership structure. Group CEO Robert Almeida describes the move as a deliberate internal realignment aimed at sharpening focus and strengthening operational coherence across the group's regional footprint. Meanwhile, Clarion CEO Ian Truran says the transaction supports the bank's strategy to expand selectively in high-quality offshore markets while maintaining continuity for clients and staff. As its public offer gets underway, Woodcats International Limited is directing investor attention to how the IPO proceeds are intended to translate into operational growth. Management has indicated that approximately $375 million Jamaican dollars from the IPO portion of the combined offer will be reinvested directly into the business. Woodcat's general manager Peter Douglas says the capital is earmarked for equipment upgrades, automation, and working capital.
Looking ahead, the capital raised from our combined IPO and offer for sale is about taking the business from the foundation that would have created in a deliberate way to build on that structure. Of the total proceeds, approximately $375 million will be reinvested directly in the company, a significant portion towards upgrading equipment, including resaws, pallet nailing machines, forklifts, while additional funds will support working capital to ensure business operates smoothly as volumes increases.
He says the company is also targeting a 30% increase in production capacity by next year.
We are working towards increasing pallet output by 30% by 2027. We plan to automate a substantial portion of our production processes to reduce turnaround time and improve consistency. We also intend to expand our heat treatment capacity to support more export-oriented clients across CARICOM. We are growing our Summerland brand, which is the mulch, to reach additional retail distribution points over the next few years to include export.
That was the general manager for Woodcats International, Peter Douglas. In other news, Honeybun 1982 Limited crossed a major revenue milestone in its 2025 financial year, even as profits were squeezed by heavy investment and accounting changes. The Jamaica-listed manufacturer reported sales of $4.18 billion, a 9% increase year-on-year, pushing revenues above the $4 billion mark for the first time. Growth was supported by expanded production capacity and continued demand across its wholesale and branded product lines. However, pre-tax profit fell 57% to $116 million, largely due to higher depreciation and lease-related charges tied to its New Angels manufacturing plant. The company says the impact reflects IFRS 16 accounting treatment rather than a deterioration in core operations. Meanwhile, net profit declined to $109 million, while earnings per share eased to 23 cents. Operating costs rose as the company scaled distribution and absorbed higher administrative expenses during the expansion phase. We move to the latest updates from the JSE Equities. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 120 stocks, of which 54 advanced, 47 declined, and 19 traded firm. Leading today's winners are Cygnus Credit Investments USD Ordinary Shares, Pulse Investments, Mayberry Jamaican Equities, and Berger Paints Jamaica. While leading the losers are Iron Rock Insurance Company, First Rock Real Estate Investments USD, MPC Caribbean Clean Energy USD, and Palace Amusement Company. The main index advanced by 2,224.36 points to close at 347,969.54 points. The junior market index advanced by 9.75 points to close at 3,343.66 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Harry Chris. Regional ratings, global standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're looking at sustainability. In business terms, sustainability means operating in a way that does not harm the environment, the community, or society as a whole. It focuses on how companies manage their impact on both the environment and people. Sustainable businesses aim to balance these responsibilities while remaining profitable. When companies fail to do so, the consequences can include environmental damage, social inequality, and long-term economic costs. To avoid this, sustainable organizations consider environmental, social, and economic factors in decision-making, ensuring short-term profits do not create future risks or liabilities.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Harry Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. The French Senate has approved Martinique's request to become an associate member of the Caribbean community. This marks a significant step towards a deeper economic and institutional integration between the French Caribbean and the wider region. The January 28 vote follows Martinique's signing of the accession agreement at last year's CARICOM summit in Barbados and sends a clear political signal in favor of closer ties between the 15-member bloc and France's Caribbean territories. While the agreement still requires scrutiny and approval by the French National Assembly, French officials say the Senate's broad support positions the island for more structured regional engagement. For business and development stakeholders, the move is about formal access. As an associate member of CARICOM, Martinique would be able to participate fully in regional programs covering trade facilitation, mobility, and technical cooperation, areas increasingly tied to investment flows, workforce movement, and project financing across the Caribbean. The Central Bank of the Bahamas says the Bahamian economy grew at a slightly slower pace in 2025, with output expanding close to 3% when compared to a 3.4% growth in 2024. Speaking during the bank's quarterly press briefing for the fourth quarter of 2025 earlier today, Governor John Roll says tourism continued to lead the growth, supported by higher prices and a robust cruise sector.
For 2025, the Bahamian economy is projected to have grown at a rate close to 3%, after an estimated 3.4% rise in 2024. This remains above the medium-term potential, which is still projected just under 2% per annum. For tourism, although stopover performance was constrained by limited hotel sector capacity and softer U.S. travel demands, earnings were still bolstered by appreciated product pricing, sustained expansion in vacation rental sales, and arrivals gains from non-U.S. visitors, notably from Canada. The cruise market also continued to experience robust growth, buttressed by steady investment in private destination facilities.
He says external buffers also strengthened as foreign exchange reserves rose by nearly $170 million last year.
Foreign exchange market activities strengthened in 2025 as well, aligned with inflows from tourism, investments, and other private sector activities. In particular, commercial banks' total purchases of foreign exchange from the private sector increased by 4.1% to $7.6 billion in 2025. And this was accelerated from an estimated boost of about 2.4% in 2024. In line with increased demand for foreign exchange, for imports and other payments, commercial banks' total sales of foreign exchange to the private sector also expanded at an accelerated 5.1% pace to $7.5 billion in 2025.
That was Governor for the Central Bank of the Bahamas, John Roll. In other news, Belize is sharpening its investment pitch, signaling a clear policy shift towards private sector-led growth. In remarks to a joint sitting of Parliament on Monday, Prime Minister John Briceño committed to actively facilitating private sector investment, particularly in the sugar sector. He says the strategy centers on reducing friction for cross-border production and trade, while fully leveraging the free movement of goods under the CARICOM framework.
The revised Treaty of Chaguaramus provides this legal framework for free movement of goods within CARICOM. We must leverage our abundant resources, facilitate private sector investment, and reap the benefits of our people.
That was Prime Minister of Belize, John Briceño. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 24 securities, of which 6 advanced, 8 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are JMMB Group, Grace Kennedy, A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings, and Massey Holdings, while leading the losers are Trinidad and Tobago NGL, Point Lisas Industrial Port Development Corporation, National Flour Mills, and National Enterprises. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index declined by 0.74 points to close at 1,391.34. The Composite Index advanced by 1.33 points to close at 950.05. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.51 points to close at 66.80. The SME Index remained at 92.68. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next. Welcome back. In international news, rising electricity costs and mounting grid stress are emerging as major economic risks in the United States. Testifying before Congress today, Chairman of the House Subcommittee on Energy, Bob Latta, says the national power system is under extreme pressure, with average U.S. electricity bills rising 11% in 2025.
It is no secret that our grid is under extreme stress. The head of the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, called the reliability crisis a five-alarm fire. Average utility bills rose by 11% in 2025 after increasing by 29% in the 4 years prior and substantially higher across our nation's bluest states. Grid operators are flashing red alarms about the mismatch between growing demands and dwindling baseload resources.
He says recent data suggests that if the current trends persist, the risk of blackouts could rise 100-fold by 2030.
The Department of Energy found that the current pace of baseload retirements and load growth raise the risk of blackouts by 100 times by the year 2030. And across the country, a growing number of Americans are concerned about the potential for data center development to raise their utility bills. How did we get here? Decades of poor policy decisions from federal and state governments steered utilities away from reliability-centric investments and toward one intended to meet renewable energy goals.
That was U.S. Chairman of the House Subcommittee on Energy, Bob Latta. Turning now to global trade, China has issued a sharp warning to Panama, saying there will be heavy prices to pay after the country's Supreme Court annulled a long-standing contract allowing a Hong Kong firm to operate 2 key ports at the Panama Canal. In a strongly worded statement on Tuesday, China's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office condemned the ruling against C.K. Hutchinson, calling it absurd, shameful, and pathetic, and pledged to defend the interest of Chinese enterprises operating overseas. The court decision voided a contract held since the 1990s by Panama Ports Company and C.K. Hutchinson subsidiary to run container terminals at both the Pacific and Atlantic entrances of the Panama Canal. Judges cited constitutional violations and concerns about public interest. Meanwhile, China accused unnamed foreign powers of exerting pressure on Panama, saying the country had willingly succumbed to external influence. Moving now from geopolitical pressure points to safe haven assets. Gold and silver prices staged a sharp rebound on Tuesday, snapping a 2-day sell-off as bargain hunters moved back into the market. Spot gold jumped 7% to just under $5,000 an ounce, marking its strongest single-day rise since the global financial crisis in 2008. U.S. gold futures climbed even higher, up 8%, while silver surged nearly 12%, recovering part of last week's historic plunge. The rebound follows extreme volatility triggered by policy signals out of the Federal Reserve after Kevin Warsh was named the next Fed chair. Markets expect rate cuts, but also tighter balance sheet conditions, prompting investors to rapidly unwind leveraged positions. Pressure also intensified after CME Group raised margin requirements on precious metal futures, forcing further liquidations. And finally, from the commodities market, we turn to fresh economic data out of North America. Mexico's manufacturing sector remains under pressure, with fresh data pointing to a deepening slowdown driven by weak demand and rising costs. The S&P Global Mexico Manufacturing PMI edged up slightly to 46.3 in January from 46.1 in December, but stayed well below the 50-point mark that signals expansion. The survey shows demand for Mexican goods fell for a third straight month, with new orders declining at their fastest pace since mid-2025. Export demand remained weak, particularly from the United States, though the pace of decline eased compared with December. On the cost side, tariffs were identified as a major driver of higher input prices, pushing inflation further above its long-run average. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break. And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, Jamaica's $10 billion roofs rollout turns recovery into economic injection. Regionally, French Senate backs Martinique's CARICOM bid, opening regional business pathways. And internationally, U.S. power grid under pressure as electricity costs outpace inflation. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
I am Pierre Celestin Dwabukumba, the CEO of Rwanda Stock Exchange and President of African Securities Exchange Association, ASEA, and you are one